Hello again, viewers. I thought we would do a peek in on my African nightcrawlers. I took the cover off, and as you can see, the cantaloupe that they last were fed has sprouted quite a bit. Also, I believe there's some, these are some sprouts from some of the beans that I had given them, the bean pods that I used as bedding. I threw some of the whole beans in, and of course, as those break open, they're going to grow. Look, they got pretty good root structure for little worm bed seedlings. Never underestimate the power of worm castings. I mean, look at these roots. These are just a few days old, and wow. So obviously, all of these will just get crunched in half and put back in. But let's see if we can take a look at the worms and see how they're doing. I put a lot more bedding in the worms this time than the last time I loaded it, and I haven't made a determination yet if that's a positive or a negative or just makes no difference at all. I mean, so far I haven't really noticed a difference, but we'll see as the bin continues to age. It looks like the worms are doing well. They're quite happy down there. The moisture is really good. The worms continue to be large in size. I haven't had any issue with them shrinking, fortunately. As can happen, as I've heard about the African nightcrawlers, they can tend to lose size. Okay, now here is an African nightcrawler. I don't want to call it a ball because they don't really ball. I think they're too big to get into a ball. How about just a collection? Look at this little guy on my finger. They're so stinking cute. And yes, it is an African nightcrawler. It's young, so it's a little bit lighter still. And they are gathered around bean pods. Oh yeah, the beans. They're really liking these beans a whole lot. Of course, you know, some of the beans sprout if they were really dry, but some of them that get mushy, they just turn to mush, and they get pretty stinky, and the worms love them. Mushy, stinky things is a dream. I'll make sure there's no worm in there. Okay, let's take a look. So the bin is looking really good. Needs to be turned. It hasn't been turned in a while. Again, the worms are looking nice and big. No issue there. I do remember when I moved the worms from their old bed to this one, I had counted out 173 adults. I know there's far more than that now. I'll probably recount them when this bed gets finished, just to see how many of the babies grew up. If it were thousands, I wouldn't need to, but a few hundred I can do. Or I should say, if it was thousands, I wouldn't take the time to do it. Not a matter of need, it's a matter of going insane trying to. So, as always, the banana peels in here, they just never seem to get consumed. Perhaps if it was the only thing in here, it would. But when there's so many other delicious things to eat, I think those are less interesting. Mango seed. No, it's not open yet. No. Of course, even it has a sprout on it. You can see some of the younger African nightcrawlers hanging out on there. Here's a pretty dark colored one here. That's a pretty worm. Alright, let me keep scooping around. So it looks like outside of their bean sprouts, they have once again consumed every bit of their food. I see nothing in here now. And they were given a pretty large feeding. They had a half a cantaloupe. Look at this one here, clearly ready for breeding. Nice big band on a nice big worm. Let's see if we can isolate this guy here. Gal worm. Okay, no, it's getting all twisted up in my hand. It doesn't want to turn over. Come on, worm, cooperate. Nope, it's being camera shy. All right, well, if it's that adamant to get away from the camera, who am I to force it? Let me just back up a little bit here so you can see the bin contents. So it's basically a whole lot of leaves. Look at this castings at the bottom. I mean, those are really rich. Really nice moisture level. Excellent moisture level, actually. And the castings are just, the castings that have been made so far are black. I mean, they're beautiful. Here's another one here that's, you know, got the swelling band, ready to breed. Oh, look, he goes all the way down and around. This is a huge African. And you can see the band there, the clitellum. It's a big worm. That's a really healthy, that's like the perfect specimen of an African nightcrawler. That's more or less what you want to see. Oh, here's some of that. Here's a little bit of food. This was the mush. And gosh, I can't remember. It was something I made in the blender. I know it was ground beans, a banana, and I can't remember what else right now. But this is still in here. There was a huge mound of that. And I remember I put it in specifically. Come on. No, I don't want to break you. I'm going to be very gentle. I put it in specifically knowing it had the capacity to heat up because these guys like that heat. And I figured if they were cool, they could go towards it. And if it got too warm, they could move to any of the outer edges of the bin. And given how little is left, they've devoured it. These guys are just so long. I mean, I cannot stretch my hand out far enough. And I actually have big hands for a female, so I'm pleased with the size of these worms. I mean, I don't know that size is an indicator of appetite or that bigger worms make more castings than smaller worms. I have no clue on that. I mean, I guess if something is bigger, it's going to eat more, right? I mean, my 218-pound South African boar bull eats a whole lot more than my 5-pound Cornish Rex cat. So, you know, I guess size would make a difference in appetite. So, okay, well, the contents of this bin look really good, and all they have left is a little tiny portion of the mush I made, and I'm going to have to look back and see what that was because I can't remember now. I remember the banana. Wait, there was a banana, there was an apple, and there were beans, and that may be it. There may have been some eggshells also. But it's time for feeding for these guys. They don't need moisture. Of course, they will eat these sprouts. What I'll do is break them all up off camera and pile them in there. And I'll get some food. And then I'll give them a good feeding, and we'll just do a quick follow-up and cover them up. Hey guys, okay, so I'm not done with the feeding part yet. I just wanted to show you this. I know how I just said African nightcrawlers don't really ball up. And they don't because they're so huge. But look at this pile of them. For African nightcrawlers, this is what I consider impressive. It's impressive to me. And all I found in the center was a bunch of the bean sprouts. I mean, look at these guys. There was just so many in one pile, just gathered all. It's like that game barrel. Oh, look, Edward Scissorhands, Edward Wormhands. I just think these guys are so cool. Look at these. They're so long, they look like spaghetti instead of worms. Let's see. I'm having fun with these worms right now, as you can tell. I don't know if they're having fun, but I'll put them down in a minute. Just look at the length of these. It's incredible. All right, guys, I won't torture you anymore. Some of them, like this one here, the color, if my phone was not making me very angry, I'll use that word. The color is just incredible. Yep, they're pretty awesome. Okay, let me get back to what I was doing with the food. I just thought you might want to share that moment. Just wanted to show you some of the castings that are in the bottom of this bin. I'm hoping my phone is getting the color, but it's beautiful. Really, it even smells like just pure loam. I mean, it's really, really nice stuff. Nice stuff. These worms are doing such a good job. Okay, so what I've decided to do, I'm not going to feed this bin. I looked, and this bin is 7 weeks old now, so it should be done because my bins are run on a 7-week cycle. But if you look at this pile on the floor, yep, this is on the floor. This is most of the sprouts that are in that bin. Not all, but most. And this is how many there are. There's also a mango pit, and I tore up the banana peel. This is what they're loving. So I'm just going to pile this up in the center. I broke the roots off them so they'll decompose rapidly. And they will dine on this. And by the time this is gone, what is left in this bin will be done. And it'll be ready to harvest because it is so close to ready now. You can see the material. And the paper that remains, or cardboard rather, pea pods, whatever, I give this a week. It's not going to take more than that. These guys eat like crazy. And if I put their bean sprouts in there, and I may even pile it up, because this is pretty shallow. So I may pile it up on one end, bury their bean pods or seedlings, sprouts, and add a little moisture, cover them back up, and I think in a week this bin is going to be done. And we'll check on it then. Everybody have a great day. This is the end result with their food buried in the middle. Gonna give them a little bit of water, cover them up, and in a week this should look like magic.